Do you have a terrifying birth chart? Because if you do, I would love to see it. In this video, I'm going to tell you which birth charts kind of terrify me, why I don't agree with most astrologers when it comes to scary birth charts. By the way, my name is Nadia, I'm Neurospicy, and I'm an astrologer with data addiction. And in the comments, I would love to know, do you have a chart with a ton of aspects, or do you have a chart where it's just 1 or 2 or 3 aspects and nothing else? Crickets. So over the weekend, one of my dear friends sent me a TikTok video where an astrologist was saying they saw this chart and they will never go on a date with this guy because it's just a walking red flag. And I had a look at it, and yeah, ego would be a problem in that chart. I mean, it was a massive 8,000 second house stellium. It was Aquarius and Leo, and there was a couple of other funky things in there. Now, number one, I don't vilify charts. I've seen some amazing charts of really shitty humans, and I've seen some really shitty charts that turned out to be great humans. But there's one type of chart that makes me sit up straight and think, boy, this is tough. It's usually a chart where there's not a ton of aspects. So I'm going to go through the aspects in a birth chart, tell you why it's terrifying when you don't have a lot. So here's all of the aspects that you can have in a birth chart. Not all, there's like further ones you can have, but these are the main ones. So a conjunction is when you have 2 planets next to each other, or a planet and a point next to each other. And usually I like to go by a 3-degree orb. You have a sextile, which is 60 degrees, and it's seen as a good connection because the planets are easily able to talk to each other. You also have a square, which is a 90-degree angle. This is friction. This is 2 planets or points that don't get on a lot. It's a difficult aspect, but it makes chef's kiss great progress when you know how to use it. You have a trine. This is when 2 planets or a point make a 120-degree angle, and then you have an opposition, which is 180 degrees. Remember, all of these are within a 3 to 5-degree orb. Now, the charts that I find very terrifying are charts where there isn't a lot of conversation between the elements and planets and points. You see, even if you have squares and oppositions, which are traditionally seen as really difficult connections because either 2 planets or points are trying to vie for control, like an opposition, or a square where they just don't get on, and a T-square, which is where you have an opposition and then 2 squares with an apex planet, even though the conversations aren't productive or easy to handle, they can be very powerful. You can hijack that in a chart. If you have almost only conjunctions can be good or bad. So let's say you have a couple of stelliums, those stelliums aren't talking to each other. That I find really scary in a chart, because that means we need to figure out how to work with that chart. It isn't as easy. But it isn't the end of the world if you don't have a bunch of aspects. It just means that working with your chart might be a little bit difficult. What you want to start with is trying to find the mechanism. So find which houses have which rulers and where those rulers are, because if you have a bunch of conjunctions, that is kind of where we would start. It's also interesting that usually within a 3-degree orb, I find it a close connection, and I pay attention to it. If you have almost no close connections and you have a trine that is 5 or 6 degrees, then suddenly it becomes louder than it would in someone's chart that had a lot of close aspects. But what I want you to take away from this conversation is the fact that there's no such thing as astrology is prophecy and I have a difficult chart, therefore I'm going to have a difficult life. It's all just base coding and structure, and certain languages are easier to code than others, but they're all certainly manageable. The more knowledge you have around it, the more you understand your chart, the easier life gets. And if you're a ride or die and you've made it to the end, thank you so much. I would love to know in the comments, what's your favorite color and what's your second favorite color? My favorite color is blue and second favorite is burgundy.